I'm Coast Guard Mary, and I live the Coast Guard lifestyle. I support the Coast Guard lifestyle.
Okay.
I live the Coast Guard lifestyle, and boy, do I love it.
We're in Dutch Harbor. We're in Unalaska.
Unalaska.
How do you pronounce it?
Unalaska.
Okay. You've lived here your entire life?
Yes, born and raised.
What are the people here?
They're Aleuts. They're called Kawalungan. That's a tribe.
Which one of your daughters went to the Coast Guard?
Diane Jenkins.
Is that the first one? First
Second,
daughter, second daughter?
Second daughter.
When did she join? Do you remember?
It was, my son graduated high school in 99, so I think she went in 92, maybe 93. My oldest granddaughter was born in 94. So I think she went in between 90 and 92, maybe 93.
So she went from here to the Coast Guard in Cape May, New Jersey, boot camp.
Yeah.
What rate did she go?
I have no idea.
You don't know if she was a storekeeper or a cook or anything?
No, I believe she said she was a storekeeper.
Okay.
She didn't get on any ships. She went to Ketchikan. Was her first station.
So she came back to Ketchikan.
She went to Ketchikan.
Man. There was somebody on the store you didn't know.
Yeah.
So that means you knew everybody on the store.
I knew people. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just came. Where were they at that time? Do you know?
Kodiak.
Like they were stationed in Kodiak.
Kodiak. Yeah, it was Cutter Stores, but he was on a different cutter coming up this way.
Okay.
So I did come back and met up with him and got to know him and some other guys. I can't remember the name of the ship either.
So can you remember the first cutter that came up here that you actually started talking to the people that were on it or getting to know them, or were they always involved with the community kind of a thing, or?
In the first cutter I met was the Cutter Stores in the Ironwood.
You remember what year that was?
That was in the early 70s.
Okay.
Early 70s. And
Did they used to raise the roof on Dutch Harbor or Unalaska?
no, they were
They were good?
yeah.
Was the elbow room around at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go meet up with them at the Elbow Room.
Yeah?
Stores in Yacona, and the Ironwood, Firebush, all them guys. I met them all at the Elbow Room. We used to have a live band there, a native band.
Did they have helicopters at that time that came here? Do you remember?
I did meet a pilot that was on the Cutter Stores, and I have his namesake. His last name was Friend. And I have that,
Yeah?
with his Airedale
Huh.
wings on it. Those black patches, like, what's her name? Yeah, I have
But
that.
the hangar wasn't over there where they would come spend the night or anything
No,
like that.
no. The hangar was there, but they didn't.
No.
No, they weren't staying here. They used to have to go back out. Sometimes they'd have to anchor out here in the bay, too, the cutters.
Hmm.
Because the dock, we didn't have the city dock either. We only had Standard Oil.
How did they get here? Did they
The small
lower
boat.
the small boat
Yeah.
and come ashore? Mm-hmm. So, who was the first person to call you Coast Guard Mary? Or was it you?
No,
You didn't just come up with that name and
No.
say, hey, I'm Coast Guard Mary?
no, it was one of the native guys here. One of my ex-sister-in-law, her husband. Because cutters used to come into bay, and I lived down there across from the PCR. PCR wasn't there then, but I lived in that area there.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived just right across the street from me and stuff. I used to go visit with them, and every time, and I knew every cutter's number, the name of the cutter. I knew their numbers, 724 and 25 and 71950, all them.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, Mary. I said, what? He said, there comes your Coast Guard ship. And I said, oh, where? And I went and looked, and it was coming over tying. He says, I'm going to call you Coast Guard Mary. You're Coast Guard Mary, and that name stuck with me since then.
Yeah. Did you ever help any of them paint their wall up on the hill?
No,
You never helped any of them paint any of that?
I was around, sure, but I didn't know they did that until I saw
Oh yeah.
all those signs with their cutter names.
You don't have any idea where that came from, or who put that in place, or did the city kind of start that thing, or
Might have.
you don't
That's
know?
the only way I can think of. No, I didn't know. Until I looked up there like, hey, cutter up their names.
So where are we at? Coast Guard Mary in what, the late 70s?
Late 70s, yeah.
What was this place like then? Was there always Coast Guard here?
No, not. The only time we'd have the Coast Guards here is when the cutters would come in Kodiak
But I
area.
mean, they weren't always.
No.
No, somebody wasn't always in
No.
port.
So it was in the late, I believe the late 80s when the MSD office came up here. Yeah. It was
Do you
in the
remember?
late
And you
80s.
remember the first crew?
Like I was telling him, where the World War II building is,
Mm-hmm.
at the end, I had found out that there was a few Coast Guards there. And I walked over there and went over and visited with one of them. And I can't remember his name, but I could still picture his face.
The
And
office was over there?
at the end of the building, yeah. That's
The World War II building?
Yeah, that
Really?
was the first Coast Guard office that I know of because I went over there and visited with him, and I used to go visit with him at times.
How many were over there?
I think there's
Like
only
two or three?
Two. I think there was two of them then. Yeah, that's where I met the first one. Was there.
How long were they over there? You remember?
I think they were there until the office was built here, or they might have just went back out. I don't know.
Was there never an
Remember.
office over here in Unalaska?
No.
It's always been on the
Dutch.
Dutch Harbor side,
Mm-hmm.
but they called it Unalaska.
MSD Unalaska, yeah. And then they switched it to MSD Dutch Harbor, and I wasn't happy about it. But what could I do?
But you got the sign.
But I got the
Where's
sign. Yeah, it's out there on my shed. I was in Minnesota that summer, and I guess they decided to change the name. So Derek calls me up and asks me if I want the Coast Guard sign. I said, "What sign?" He says, "The MSD Unalaska sign." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah. Well, we just changed it to Unalaska Dutch Harbor." And Chris and I talked about it, and we figured, hey, what about Mary? I bet she'd want it. And I said, heck yeah.
And there it is.
And there it is on my shed.
Still there.
Yeah. They were the first Coast Guards to come and have dinner at my house.
Were
Gibson
they
and his crew.
in the same building it is now?
Yeah.
So it just switched names. It never switched buildings.
Nope.
How many crews have you fed dinner in this room?
From Derek Gibson on until the ones that are here now.
So somewhere around 40 years. 45-ish. You've been hosting Coast Guard crews in this room, feeding them fish pie.
They love the ham, though, in Turkey. Yeah, fish pies and fish and chips.
What about Thanksgiving? How many Thanksgivings have you fed Coast Guard in your home right here?
Derek Gibson and them were the first ones, and I think I might have had a couple more here, but I think after that they started having me come over to the office.
They probably got more and more people. Huh?
Yeah, well, not long after my son graduated from high school, I think, and he was in college, so I'm going to say at least a good 8 years, maybe 10 years, because that was late when I started with Gibson and them. I'll tell you about this one Airedale crew, my number one.
No names to protect the innocent.
My number one Airedale son, anyway. I had given them, baked for them, and had elotics and stuff, the regular elotic and then the cinnamon and sugar type one. And they had to take off, so they took off, but they came back late, like 2 in the morning after midnight, and they were hungry. And one of them says, "Hey," he looks in the freezer, "I forgot I put the fried bread in the freezer." They were never so happy to see it.
It's the best 2 a.m. snack you've ever had. It's like eating beignets on Bourbon Street at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they were really happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always make sure that they have something when they get here. I bake for them. And
The Airedale Crew.
yes,
I feel like you like the Airedale Cruise more than you like the MS.
I like you both evenly. Let's put it that way and stay out.
I don't believe it.
Oh, you better believe it.
How many Airedale Crews have you hosted dinner for in this?
None yet.
None?
No. Hoping one day. Because they're busy.
Well, you probably brought us lunch 5 times while I was here.
Oh,
At least 5 times. My brain doesn't work.
see, it's probably more
Very
than five. It
well.
has to be more than 5
Probably.
times.
You had Thanksgiving over there because we had a turkey cook-off.
I haven't had Thanksgiving dinner here since,
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
going to say at least 6, 7 years now. It's always been at the office
Yeah.
after a while. Yeah.
Well, you invited us over, but Durande, Dirty Randy, at his best, said that he could cook a better turkey than me.
Oh, yeah. It's over there.
Honestly, I don't remember who won, but I know I did not. Honorary Chief Lekanoff. We're going to have to send you through CCTI. So you can then become honorary Chief Mary Lekanoff. You don't know what that is, though, do you?
Not a clue.
You will whenever you go through it.
Give her a Scottish jab. You guys are carving this up together.
It's basically 7 weeks of games. It's a good time. It's a good time. You'll feed everybody. Don't worry. It'll be expected. Coffee and donuts every morning. Fry bread. We'll let you do fry bread.
Well, that's the only thing that everybody likes.
But it'll be expected. Don't worry.
Are you serious?
I am and I'm not. I am and I'm not.
You're going to give me a warning first, right?
Oh yeah. You'll know when you're going through it. You'll know. So there's something called Chief's Call to Initiation. That whenever you make Chief, you go through it. And it's a bonding of the brotherhood is all it is. Or sisterhood. Whatever. A lot of things nobody knows about until they become Chief. I know you don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Not a clue.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's designed.
Yeah, and that's going to bug me till it happens.
Well, no.
You want to tell us about the all-around?
Basically, it involves you making a lot of food, feeding everybody, all the other chiefs that come in and out. That's basically what it's going to involve. And you may have to do some scavenger hunts.
Like, what is this? I don't understand this.
What did I get myself into?
Well, whenever you put an anchor on, a lot. So let me ask you this. What does being a chief mean to you?
That's a question. I can't even explain that.
It's different for every chief. It's got to mean something. It's got to be a big deal. Is it a big deal?
It is. To me, it shows that the Coast Guard's showing me their appreciation for what I do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every one of you guys that have come out here. And every time you guys come out here, all different crews that come out here, you all help me out. You're there for me when I need something done.
You're the only civilian I know that's an honorary chief. I personally don't know of any other civilians that are honorary chiefs. I know of commanders and captains and admirals that are honorary chiefs. But you're the only civilian I know of. So it's a big deal for the Coast Guard, for the chiefs to come together and say, we put our name behind you and we want you to be an honorary chief. It's not something that we take lightly at all. It's a big deal. A lot of people don't realize it, but it is. And it does definitely show you how much we appreciate everything that you do for us. I mean, everybody's got their own idea of what being a chief means. Leadership, guidance, being a good follower, being able to put your boot in somebody's rear end and the next minute being able to help them out of a bad situation, being able to congratulate somebody, being able to lend a helping hand whenever we need to, being able to go into the community and help a community regardless of whether the community wants you there or not. It means something different to everybody. To us, giving it to you is it really is a huge deal, and we appreciate everything that you do for us.
I know my son is proud of me. He was always proud of me for being there for all of you Coast Guards and taking care of you guys, and you guys did the same thing with me, and he was really appreciative of that too. So when I became the Honorary Chief of the United States Coast Guard, I had really wished he was here. But I already know that he's proud and happy for me, and I know he's thankful for all of you guys who came through with this for me.
Yeah. Well, I definitely would like to say thank you to Fred for letting us borrow you as much as we do.
He always
You
told
really
me.
do make a huge difference.
He always told me, he says, "See, when I leave town, Mom, you've got all those coasties, all your sons."
Well, even my mom thanked you on Facebook.
Yes, she did.
And she has no idea who you are, but she knew that you were out here helping take care of us. So,
Well, there was one MSD crew member, Ken was his name. When I came back from, I think one summer from Minnesota or somewhere, I was being picked up at the airport, and Adrian was in the back of the vehicle. And I told him I was Coast Guard Mary, and he says, "Yeah, right." And I says, "You don't believe me?" I says, "I am." And then I was at the office a day or two later, and here comes Ken. And he comes up to me and he says, "My mom says to tell you thank you." I looked at him, I said, "I don't know your mom." He says, "No, you don't know her, and she doesn't know you, but she's heard about you. And even before I came up here," he said, "and she said to tell you thank you."
that's got to be huge
It
for
was,
you
yeah.
to know that there's Coasties moms out there all over the country that are thanking you for everything that you do for us whenever we're out here.
Yes.
So, that's big.
Even the Coast Guard moms and grandmas, they, I have a couple of them that I'm good friends with from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
One, her grandson was on the cutter Alex Haley, and that's when the COVID came out, and she had asked me to bake a cake for him, take it over, and I was going to. I had it all set up and everything, but they said that it probably wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to take it over there. But I went and she asked me if I can get him some gifts, fishing hooks and stuff, and I did that. And I got him a little pocket knife with his name on it.
Yeah.
Took it over and they gave it to him. And he told his grandma he was thankful. So
Well,
I'm
good. Look at impacting everybody all across the Guard. It's hard for us to be away from families because this is a one-year tour out here at the MSD. No family. Somewhere or another in there, you get to go home and see your family, but sometimes people don't. The weather doesn't work out, or the timing doesn't work out, or they just save that time. So it's a hard tour. The weather out here all through the wintertime, drifting snow everywhere, blowing rain, blowing sleet all the time. And the wintertime is the MSD's busy season. We start inspecting boats in October. Then you have another season somewhere around January. So, I mean, we're out there in the heart of the worst of it, doing boat inspections. Yeah. It's not you don't have a lot of work, but when you do have work, it's hard work, mainly due to the weather.
Oh, tell you the truth, up to this day, I still thank the Lord for blessing me with the Coast Guards. And you guys that are up here, being away from, like you said, from your families. I can't imagine even those with families that aren't up here with you guys.
Yeah.
And even with the Airedales, I mean, their families in Kodiak, but still, they come here, and you know they end up here all the time, most of the time. And
Yeah, because their boat's usually underway for 3 months at a time. So whenever they're here, they've already been away from their families for weeks and maybe months.
yeah, and that's where I decided to start, you know, baking for them and making them feel welcome, just like I do with the MSD crew. You're all family to me, and you know, it's all family. And that's,
Well, it seems like every other day I see on social media where you found another Airedale that you haven't seen in a while.
yes, and now I have you, and I haven't seen you for over a year. But
Well, I'm not sure I'm gonna be posted on the FBs. Any good stories stick out in your mind over the last 20 years? Coasty stories?
It sounds mischievous. I like it.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you one story here. The Cutter Yacona. I was at the Unicy, and the band players were over there. That was their night off. And here's this one guy sitting down. It was the old Unicy then. It's not what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's sitting down below there, and he's looking at me, and he's waving and everything, and I'm going, what the heck? And he wrote something on a piece of paper, and kind of like that. And so I went down. I said, are you off the cutter? He said, yeah, the Yacona. I said, oh. And he says, well, I have something for you. And he gave it to me, and he said something about, you're my friend, you're my best friend, or something. I can't remember. And he wrote it in pencil, and that faded away after all these years. I have the paper,
I was
but
about to say, you still have the paper though.
I have the paper though. But what he wrote down on it kind of floored me, and I was like, what the heck? I think from there on is when I started getting, was friends with the Cutter Yacona a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they come in, they'd go up to Crawley Dock, and I always went out there to meet them on the dock, even though I was working during the day. During the day, I'd run out from work, I'd go do a delivery and head out there. And so when they'd come in, I'd be on the dock waiting for them with bread and stuff, but I didn't make fried bread then. But I was always out there when they came in. So one year, they came in, I wasn't on the dock. They didn't like that.
Uh-oh.
They did not like it. They were worried, waiting for me the whole time. So they were here for a couple days, I think. But to be honest, I was home and I had a bloody hangover. And they called me from the elbow room and said, "What? Where are you?" I said, "I'm home. You just called my house." "Well, why aren't you at the bar?" And I says, "I'm not feeling too well."
Been there too much already.
So I just went down there and said hi to them, and they all chewed me out and said, don't ever not be on the dock when we come in. They didn't like that. I had a lot of good friends on there. I knew the captain and the chief on there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where were they out of? I don't think I've ever even heard of that boat.
Yacona, that was from Kodiak.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. them in the stores, the Ironwood and Firebush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
they're
heard of
out.
all of those.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten? Have you ever been invited to eat on a cutter?
Actually, I have with the captain on the first one was a melon.
Yeah.
They had me come over.
Was
Invited.
it good?
I was gonna say,
Yes.
how's the food?
Yeah, the food was pretty good. Um,
Is that the only one, or
No.
had several?
no, just that one, and then the Alex Haley. I was on that one, and
That
it was the same
food on that.
captain.
Oh yeah, same. Oh well, maybe there's. Listen, cutter folk, you need to start inviting Coast Guard Mary to come eat a meal on your boat.
I was told that I can go on board a boat and tell them that, but I said no. I'm not gonna do it. All you gotta do is introduce yourself and tell them you're the chief. Well, I'm happy with my MSD and my Airedales. That's enough for me. It is kind of hard without my son and my family, my grandchildren's here. So the Coast Guard and the aviation people, they make y'all make my life complete here. The only thing I could really say right now is always be thankful and grateful for the Coast Guards. All of you by land, by air, and by sea. Aviation and cutters and you MSDs. Everybody should always be thankful for you guys. Because you're all out there helping. You help and you volunteer a lot. And the Airedales, they're out there risking their lives. Saving other lives. And it's a God's gift to a lot of the communities in the world. Even all armed forces as well, too, Everybody's thankful for them.
Well, let me ask you this. Thank you, by the way, for that. I would like to say thank you to you and everybody else that's out there that actually supports the Coast Guard, even if it's not in a membership manner. Because we're small enough that we need everything that we can get. We need all the people we can get. We need all the help and support we can get. And you definitely make it a lot easier in a bad situation. So, if there was a young person watching this and you wanted to say something to them, they're trying to decide if they want to go into the Coast Guard or if they want to go to a trade school or go to college or go into the Army or the Air Force. Honestly, not trying to persuade you, what would you say to a person that's watching this video trying to figure out what they want to do with their life?
I would say the best choice would be to go into the Coast Guard. To me, it seems like the Coast Guard has a lot for all the young generations nowadays. They seem to be very helpful to them, the younger, as you first come in there. And I think all armed forces as well. I think it's a good choice. You got a lot being in the service.
It's very impressive how much we have for a young person today that doesn't know what they want to do with their life.
Yes. And I see and I hear a lot of parents thanking the Coast Guard and the armed forces for being there and their son or daughter joining.
You have any family members that have been saved by the Coast Guard out here?
No.
No? I would say I was probably thanked 10, maybe 12 times by people out here that got picked up by a helo. Not the MSD, but by a helo taken off of a boat that was either sinking or on fire. One or the other. It's an important job.
Well, they're out there in high winds, gusting winds, and there's the sea out there in the Bering Sea in the boats. I've seen videos of the helo out there, and it's like the deadliest catch. One was very impressed with the hero as he was getting off. He
Yeah.
barely missed the mast, but he saluted to the captain on the ship, on the boat. And they do a lot, saving, risking their own lives. I mean, all you guys, even the cutters do, and you guys do when you're boarding boats, and
Yeah.
it's a lot. And your families, I can't imagine what their families are going through that. But they're home praying, I know, for their families, their loved ones.
It takes a certain amount of selflessness to join a service where our number one priority is helping people.
Yes,
And we're the only military that does that.
yes, you guys are.
I know for me, I've never regretted a day of being in the Coast Guard. I'm glad I did it. I wish I wouldn't have wasted 5 years in college before I joined the Coast Guard. I wish I would have just joined. Because I definitely don't regret any day that I've ever been in. I've learned a lot. It's been huge for me. Spiritually, emotionally, the whole 9 yards. Everything that I've been through. If you're watching this video with Honorary Chief Coast Guard Mary Lekanoff,
Yes, oh, you got it.
and you go see a recruiter because of it, make sure you tell him that this video is the reason you're there, so that she can get credit from the Coast Guard from it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your dedication to service.
Thank
Chief Lekanoff. Chief Lekanoff.
One more time.
You know what I forgot? I told Lieutenant that you were going to have fry bread.
Oh, you did.
And
And you didn't tell me about it,
forgot
did
to
you? Yeah,
tell
you
you.
see, I was like,
Oh,
uh-huh.
not good, real.
I forgot to tell you
I've read a long
that
time.
I told him you were going to have fry bread waiting for us. All hot.
I wasn't
crispy
upset until
and
just now.
powdery.
I'm upset.
I can make it tomorrow.
It upset me just thinking about it.